Alright guys, hope you all had a wonderful Easter. I am extremely sick and do not feel like doing this, but I'm going to break down why low carb works so well and kind of the physics of that. So let's jump right into it. So imagine you had a meal, a high carb meal, and we'll just say that it was 100 grams of carbs. And that's your breakfast, we'll just say. And you take, we'll say, 5 units of insulin. So this is your meal. The problem is food makers are allowed to be 20% off up or down. So this is plus or minus 20 grams. So you're eating at most 120 grams of carbs and at least 80. So if we were to graph out every single situation, all the way from 120 all the way down to 80, it would look a little bit something like this. If you got it exactly right, you'd stay level. If it was closer to 80, you go down a little bit. And then, of course, the closer you get to 80, the further down you're going to go. And then if it is above 100, then you're going to go up a little. And then the closer you get to 120, the higher you're going to go. So this, assuming that the insulin stays the same, this is your VG. And this is just time. So again, assuming that you take 5 units of insulin each time and you have the same meal, this is what your graph, this is every single potential graph that you're going to get. And it's impossible to know, really, it's impossible to know which one you're going to get. So this is fundamentally why carb counting doesn't work, because if you got it right, there's still incredible variability just in the amount of carbs that you're eating, because food makers are, again, allowed to be off by 20%. So it's impossible to get an exact carb count, which leads to the classic roller coaster that most diabetics experience. Now, if we were to apply this to a low carb meal, we'll say it's 10 grams of carbs and 1 unit of insulin. And again, do the same thing, graph out every potential outcome. It's going to look a little bit something like this. That's if you got it perfect. This would be 11 grams of carbs. This would be 12 grams. That's all the way up 20%. And then if it was 9 grams, it would go down a little bit. Then if it was 8, that's also down 20%. So as you can see, you're not going to go high and you're not going to go low. So you might go a little up, you might go a little down, but it's not going to be a massive spike or a massive drop, which is fundamentally why low carb works so incredibly well. And then also, when you're not eating a ton of carbs, it means that you're focusing more on protein. When you're eating carbs, right, the carbs are going to affect your blood sugar like this. And then you're going to take fast-acting insulin that's going to work at the same rate, but you have to try and match these peaks. So this is 0 minutes and this is 15 minutes. Now, if I were to take the insulin just 5 minutes late, it would spike here. And then my blood sugar would obviously drop after spiking from the carbs. And if you were to be 10 minutes off, it would be even more dramatic, 15 minutes, even more. Like, you have to get the dose right and the timing perfect with a high carb diet, which sometimes you get lucky and it does happen, but 90% of the time it's just not. I'd even go to 99% of the time, it just doesn't happen and it leads to a roller coaster. But when you're on a low carb diet and you're eating mostly protein, the protein affects your blood sugar a little bit more like this. And then if you're taking a slower acting insulin, it's gonna work in the same fashion. And this is 0 minutes, this is gonna be like 5 hours. So if you're 5 minutes off, you're not gonna notice. If you're 10 minutes off, you're not gonna notice, right? It's just gonna be a nice matched peak, and then it's gonna fall off at the same rate. Now, if you're 30 minutes off, you might start to notice. Once you get to like an hour, then you're gonna start to notice the variability. You have to be really, really, really precise, like unrealistically precise with high carb. And that's why it doesn't work. But low carb does, because you're prioritizing slower acting protein and you don't have to deal with that up or down 20% from carbs, which just leads to stable blood sugar. And that's what I'd say 98% of people on low carb experience, and also why 98% of people can't achieve normal glycemia. It's because they're eating the wrong stuff. So I hope this was useful for you guys. Again, I'm super sick right now, so sorry that I sound like crap, but I'll see y'all next week. Hope you had a wonderful Easter.